Hello, welcome to the Sis and Smut podcast, where taboo is the topic and the tea is hot. I am Jordan,
Hi, Maddie.
and today we're going to talk about tropes. We haven't actually talked about tropes in a hot minute. It's been a while. I think we only have two posted, and there's
Yeah.
just so many to talk about. And today we're going to talk about fake dating
This is
and
one of my favorites.
how that plays into a lot of books. A lot of scenarios use this trope in particular, but it's such a great trope.
It really is. I think one of my favorite things about it is that it tends to be a very dynamic trope. So, you have that like public image versus their private image, and you get a lot of growth really from both aspects, which I like a lot.
It's true, and it's always interesting how what is going on like, the consequences not consequences, but the situations around them that create this moment of, like, "We have this is an option. Let's try
Yeah.
this." Like, it's always so funny to me, like, sometimes it's not funny, like, "Oh, this is like a life or death situation," depending on the book you're reading. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, if she doesn't marry somebody or in a relationship, they're gonna put her in some like, set her up with some other dude that she's
I
never
think,
met in her
well,
life."
that was like a lot of the historical romances. Like, I need to marry somebody right now, or I'm gonna be stuck with some guy. Like my dad's gonna give me to some guy I hate, or like my dad just died and I'm gonna be destitute unless I find somebody. And so, yeah, you can get a lot of dark aspects of it from that.
Well, there's also like with the billionaire stuff and a lot of those
Yeah.
settings, the women are used kind of like bartering chips of like
Yep.
securing their future financial like bonds.
Or like territory
Yeah,
and
or
yeah.
mafia in particular,
We do like a good mafia.
like with Brutal Vows with
Yes.
by JT Gessinger. That's a good one because of they've were marrying into another group so they could secure their
Yeah.
future together and to also not cause any more war because there's a big war going on. So there's a bunch of different ways that this is
Yeah.
being used, like they're
I actually just read a really unique one. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to go back and look at it, but it was like a hockey related one because we're all down the hockey romance
yes,
rabbit hole right now.
yeah.
But it was a PR stunt where he needed to fix his image. And so he got this like fake girlfriend that ended up not being so fake and it was really good. So I like that. I think there's some like decent angst in it because nobody is just like, you know what, I'm bored. Let's go find a boyfriend to fake date. Or like, let's go find a girlfriend to fake date. There's always some type of angst. There's always some like really significant reason why they need to resort to this. And I
Mhm.
like that. I think you get like a lot of depth up front and a lot of angst with it.
That's true. I just that made me think of, the Megan Quinn book, Till the Summer. What is
Oh,
it?
till summer do us part or something.
Summer's Part, and it's comical because
God, so good.
she got herself in trouble by like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to the marriage camp with y'all. I'm married, she's not." And
Yeah.
and then she's, like, talking to her friends who happens to have a brother that's, like, trying to learn improv. Oh, and I was like, "This is hilarious, and we
It's
haven't even got to
great.
the funny parts yet." And
I know.
it was such a funny, like, how this, like, played out into that moment of, like, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And then she talked to this guy, and then she meets him one time, and she's like, "Alright, this is gonna have to work." And the amount of,
Yeah.
like, ridiculousness that ensued was hilarious. If
You
you
know,
guys haven't read that yet, I highly recommend it. It's really, really
I
funny.
mean, let's just be honest. Megan Quinn is like one of our favorite authors. I think we've read just about everything she's ever written, and she's hysterical.
She
Like
really is.
I will forever read anything she writes just because she's the one writing it because I know it's a good time. But
Mhm,
I think one of the other unique kind of catalyst for fake dating that I like is like the inheritance ones where it's like
mhm,
"Well, you can't get this, or like I think that's probably like a lot of the billionaire ones or things where like you can't take over the company if you're not married or something. And there's always really high stakes. There's like really, really high stakes attached to this fake dating like thing they've got going on. Um, but then I like when they start getting into the rules because as soon as this starts, and this is why we read romance, to a degree what's going to happen. So
mhm,
all these rules that they start laying down. You're like, okay,
mhm.
good luck with that.
Yeah,
Like there's
no.
no feelings. We're not gonna. You can't sleep together. This ends at
Mhm,
such and such date. Blah blah. And you're like everything is doomed. You're like, okay, can't wait. And it's almost like a tracking list of
mhm.
like the rules, and you're like, can't wait for this one to get broken. Can't wait for this one to get broken. And it's almost like a little appetizer of what's coming later in the book.
And
And
in
I
in
always
some
like that.
it's kind of like, it's not always necessarily, like, just like the list that they set where, like, we can't do this,
Yeah,
can't do that, but it kinda gives you an idea of what's coming of, like, oh, once
exactly.
is it gonna be in order or is it gonna be, like, all
Oh,
sporadic?
yeah.
Or and then you kinda figure out, like, "Oh, I know where this is going," when you start reading the situation as
Really, yep.
steps of that
You're like,
trope.
"Ooh, I know what this is," and that's always really fun because then it gets you excited to read what's coming up.
Mhm,
Even though, like, you know what's gonna happen, you don't know detail-wise what's gonna happen in it, and
mhm,
that's the fun part because I think when you understand or, like, have a general idea of this is gonna have a happy ending, you're not worried about that, and I think it opens you up as a reader to really listen to the or, like, read the details, look at those details, and really, like, the intricacies of each situation without having to be like, "Oh my god, is this gonna work out? Is it not gonna work out?" And
mhm,
that's always really nice because I think you can get a little bit deeper into the book. Um, but I think when we look at these, some of the things that really make me laugh are like the beginning, the public dynamic. So
mhm,
oftentimes you get this like, I guess, for the top affection right out of the gate
mhm.
because they're, like, overcompensating for a relationship they don't have, and a lot of times that can be funny, or they'll, my favorite is when they have not planned what they're gonna say to people, and they're both making stuff up, and typically when that happens, there's, like they're butting heads to a degree, so my favorite is when they, like, try to screw with each other. And you've seen the movie The Proposal, right?
Oh, yes, yes, I
So
love
it's
that
kinda
movie.
like when they want her to tell the story of how they got engaged, and she's like, he's choking back soft, soft sobs and, like, making fun of him and making him look like an absolute idiot,
Uh-huh.
and he's
Uh,
like, "Would you shut up?" And I love when that kinda stuff happens.
it does, it makes for great it's a great rom-com moment, but then there's
Yes,
some of them that are actually a bit more serious.
there are.
The ones that I particularly enjoy, when it comes to that situation, it's stuff like historical, but also mythology type ones, because
Yeah, that's a good one
there's
too.
a very high stakes there where, like, this has to happen, this has to be really sold, because if they don't, I'm
The
just
world will
using
end or something.
the world will end, or the girl that's, having to do this, like, is gonna be sold off to this, or is gonna B'zuth is betrothing her like she's a nymph or
Yeah.
some goddess to some rando guy that's kind of a just an asshole
Like a
god.
jerk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a lot of that, and that's same with mythology, but also in just general historical romances with, like, kings, queens, like, princesses, but an everyday merchant too. I do
Yeah,
enjoy
I mean,
that
that
too.
was the time.
Yeah, that's
And
how
you and I think historical romances, that's really where I started in
Mhm,
my romance reading journey. Because when I was little, I was, like, die hard, I wanna be a princess, and, like, so I loved the aristocratic worlds and everything and pretending to be part of that when I very much was not. But it's fun when you get into that. That's the way the world was. I mean,
uh-huh.
women weren't given a choice. So your father, your brother, whomever, when they told you you were getting married, you didn't have a choice. And so, yeah, of course, I would go try to find somebody and be like, "Yo, do me a solid."
But back then,
And
they couldn't even really do that most of the time, so some of
no,
it's
most
a
of the time
bit stretched, a little stretched,
it
'cause
is
there's
a little stretched, but
but it still makes it
I
good
mean,
for
who wants
people
to
to
read
read.
the depressing thing of like, great, now I have to marry the horse-faced butthead my dad betrothed me to,
The
and I'm
horse face.
stuck.
I immediately thought of, like, a donkey's face when you said that, I was
Well,
just like,
I mean, let's be honest, the stuff I read was, like, all British aristocrats, and they were so inbred by that point,
"Ugh."
like, I know,
Yeah,
but,
but
I
you
love
see
that,
it
and then I love when I don't know, they start to, like, pretend that relationship, like, the touches, the holding hands and stuff, and I love when it's like, this feels real, but it's not."
it's because
Or
they have to
is
learn
it?
about each other, that's the other aspect
I
of it
know, that's the fun
that's
part.
so, like, heartfelt because they do have to learn about each other in order to make it more real, and in the
Yeah,
process, they ended up caring more about each other than they initially thought,
yeah,
like, they become friends. It's funny, they're dating, they're fake dating. They become friends because they learn about their traumas and what
yeah,
they're dealing with and why this was the option and all that, more so
yeah,
than just that surface level of, like, "This is why I need your help. Okay, this works because I need this
yeah.
to work too," and then they do it.
Well,
They actually, like, talk to each other, learn from each other, like, "Oh,
yeah,
this is that, this is not what she likes, this is what she likes," to make it more real, and then their relationship
yeah.
develops as it goes on, and it's so
That's the
beautiful to read.
fun part because it's almost like when they're in private, they end up almost, like, forgetting to turn it off, like because you have to be they're performing in public. And
Uh,
then once you care about each other and you start to learn more about each other and that relationship starts to develop, then you see that like moving over into the private dynamic that they have where it's they still care and then that starts to come out more and that's always really nice. I like that.
mhm. Oh, and then there's the fake dating where they're with their friend who's actually gay, and they actually like
Oh
someone
yeah.
else, and it's like a friend enemies to lovers type situation and a fake dating. I've read a few of those.
That's kind
Those are
of
really
fun.
fun. Those are really fun tropes to
Yeah,
put together, and it just creates
that would
madness
be a good one.
because they're, engaged to the person that's gay. He's gay, he's hiding what he is because 'cause let's say
Yeah,
it's
for
even
whatever
even
reason.
historically in historical dramas, that's a, like, a very scary situation for that person, but even nowadays, in contemporary romances with,
Yeah,
like,
there's
billionaires,
people
that's
that
still not accepted. So,
don't
as
wanna that feel like
as
they
much.
can't come out or something, so that's always good. And
So
then
that's
I always
good.
love with the fake dating tropes, there's those like forced moments of intimacy,
Mhm.
whatever it is, whether it's like, I don't know, you pretend to get engaged and they're like, "Oh, kiss, whatever." And then you're like, "Ugh." Or like, "Oh, we know you're dating. We didn't give you two separate rooms. Like, we're not under any illusions that you don't sleep in the same bed." And then they're like, we don't." And that's always really those tend to be like really funny. You can have
Well, yeah, it depends on, I guess, on which books you're reading. Because in some of
it's
the
true.
historical ones, they want them separated until their wedding night,
That's
right?
true.
So there is
Lame.
that, but then I know, but then you have the more, like, in the fut like, in the current
Yeah.
times, and they have them, like, together, or it's the one bed trope also, so it's got fake dating, one bed trope situation, and it
There's
creates
so many things
so
that
much
pair
fun.
well
Mhm,
with it, whether it's enemies to lovers. That's always a I mean, like you were saying, that's a really good one with fake dating because it's almost like you hate each other, but you
mhm,
have to pretend to like each other, and that's
mhm,
always really good because we all know love and hate are two sides of the same coin. So that's
mhm,
always a really, really fun one. Um, just, one bed trope. We always love that. I
mhm.
love when that happens and you're like, "It's gonna
Yeah,
happen."
we know where it's going, or at least we know what the potential is here. Because sometimes it doesn't always
Exactly.
pan
Sometimes
out
it doesn't work out that
the
way,
way
but
that you're like, alright, we're getting to
I
the
know part
spicy
of
scene."
me is like, yeah, well, you think, yeah, it could lead to a spicy scene, but then other times, like, one person gets kicked off the bed and has to sleep on the floor, and then I laugh about that. Like, there's so many different ways that you can go with a one bed trope in a fake dating situation. But I feel like it's one of the like highest up tropes of like ones that fit with so many other ones.
I agree. It also depends, like, it's like a survival moment too, because there's plenty
Yeah,
of, like, where we're going on a camping trip or a hiking thing, or
yeah.
they were just driving and they got something happened and they're stranded and they're out in the middle of nowhere, so they just managed to find a cave or something like that, or make a semi-shelter. So it's not necessarily one bed, one trope, it's like they have no other choice it's but to be
Yeah,
next to each other.
that's it.
Yeah,
Or like a
and
snowstorm, you get snowed in and like you have to huddle or you're frozen to death.
I was like, "Are you
What a
welcome?"
bummer.
Oh, no, and then there's
I
just so
know.
many different ways to use
Oh
it, that
no.
particular trope, but it's the fake dating is always it's comically it's genius for comedy.
Yes.
I love reading it when it has that, like, we read one for Christmas. It was a hockey player that was just grumpy around Christmas because
That was
unfortunately
such a cute book.
it was if unfortunately a few Christmases ago, his,
His
girlfriend at the
love
time
interest.
decided to leave
Love
on Christmas Day, like a total biatch, and so
It was
ruined
his
that whole
baby
holiday.
mama, ditched him and their kid and was like,
Yeah,
"Sayonara."
on Christmas. On
Rude.
Christmas. So awful. So, he's a little grumpy around that holiday, and so his buddies to got him a gift, I guess. They got him a gift
A
for
matchmaker.
matchmaking, but then he ended up falling for the matchmaker and had a fake dating thing, and
As
it was
one
just
does.
as one does, and it was so funny because of the situation and how it worked out, and it was actually really sweet. There was so much sweetness with it too.
That's a really sweet one. I think, one of the great things about it is it's such a versatile trope that
Mhm.
literally, really, any time period it works with, um, any type of like celebrity, if it's a workplace, if it's, you know, enemies to lovers. It just fits with so many of those. It's a very versatile trope.
Mhm.
It can be a rom-com, it could be angsty, it could be spicy, it could be scary. Like it's such a versatile trope. Um that I it's one of those ones, like, I feel like there's some people that think it's overdone, and I honestly believe it's not something that can be overdone
Mhm.
because it goes with everything. It's like
Well
black, it just goes with everything.
see, that particular trope is very essential to so many different types of stories because
Yeah,
of especially historical drama, her historical type romances. It's such a key one there, and then you have I see it more in historical, yes, but I also see it a lot in, like, the billionaires
yeah.
situation. I see it a lot with that, where they don't
Well,
wanna marry
they don't wanna marry
some
anybody, or
bimbo. Yeah.
they're like, especially the ones I think, one I really like is when they're like, "I am not interested in anyone, I am just trying to work on my business, and these women won't leave me alone, and,
Mhm.
like, so I'm gonna get a fake girlfriend so they can just back off."
Yeah. There's
And that's a good
that
one.
one. That's a good one. The one where their parents are alive and they actually own the good still own a good portion of the company, and they're like, "In order for this to fully move over to
So
you, you're gonna
yep.
have to
You
get
have to settle
hitched."
down.
Yeah. No more of this bad boy thing or bad girls. Some there's I haven't seen many of
There's
them,
some other girls, yeah.
but there are some really, like, some good ones with
I
the
feel like we
women
should
is like,
look
"I
for
need a
some
boyfriend."
that we should look for some of those. That's a good one because I feel like that is an underseen side of this trope where the woman is the one who's got, like, really a lot of something to lose and is like, "I need a boyfriend stat."
Or they just have really crappy parents and they just don't wanna have this conversation, and so they're
Yeah,
just
I was gonna say, don't we all, but
yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
they really, like, what book was it? I'm trying to it was the Australian one where her parents were awful, like, high, uppity,
Mm.
said all this terrible
Oh,
things to
oh,
her
oh, Up the Ladder?
up the ladder, yes. I was having a brain fart, I was
That
like,
was
"Why can't
such a good book. Yeah, her parents
yes,
were assholes, and I
yes,
loved how he came in and stood up for her.
yeah, and that's kind
That
of
was a
like
good book.
and that was it's more contemporary, so, like, stuff like that
Yeah,
in that situation where it just kinda leads into things where she had a list of certain sexual aspects that she wanted to hit, and it's not really
yeah.
I guess it wasn't really fake dating so much as it was
Well,
fake spicing? I don't know.
fake spicing. I mean, she was not interested in a relationship. She was interested in crossing things off this exploratory list that she
Mm,
created and was like, "Yeah, I guess you can help me."
yeah,
So,
but it's like a fake date it's like a sub
it's like
fake
a
dating trope.
it's like a, yeah, I would say it's like a sub fake dating thing where it's like, I've got something to lose. I gotta get through this list because the internet told me that I am the most boring person on the planet.
Well, it wasn't just the internet, her ex-boyfriend told her
Well, it's
that
her
too.
ex-boyfriend too, but then she did that quiz and it was
Yeah,
like, you were the worst
well
person in bed ever."
yeah, but the point is, like, that's kinda what led to it. So I think different situations and this particular trope is so key in order to continue a story, and I
Yeah.
don't think people appreciate it enough, maybe because they just haven't read the different varieties that could come from
Yeah.
it,
I
but
agree.
I really think that that's a very, useful trope and kinda needed
Mhm.
trope in a lot of
I
stories, not just
agree.
historical, but, like, in
No,
general
yeah, I
stories.
think it's very versatile, and I think one of my favorite things about this trope, which I think I've said that like 20 times already this episode, and it's because it's one of my favorite tropes, but, um, when there's that turning point, that conversation, there's so much fear of, like, "This is no longer fake for me.
Mhm,
Is it fake for you?" And I feel like that's the way so many of us feel at the beginning of a relationship. It's like, what are we? And building up to that moment of that conversation of like, this stopped being fake for me a really long time ago. And I always
uh-huh.
love those like heartfelt moments. And I find those to be very beautiful. It's very emotional, a lot of emotional honesty that comes out of those. And it's the risk of rejection that I think we all fear, and it comes out and it works out really well, and that's, like, such a good it just gives you such a good feeling.
Well, there's that and also and a trope that that's not necessarily popular is like a sub-trope, but the miscommunication is a big one too
Oh,
because
yeah.
of the situation they're in, they have to pretend for the public, but then it becomes real. So then they're trying to figure out, is this real? And they're not and they're
Yeah,
misinterpreting when they're trying to
everything.
yeah, when they're trying to communicate and they're misinterpreting everything. That
Yeah.
part goes that does they're like, "No, that's not what they meant." That part does drive me a little insane, like, "That's not what they
Yes.
meant. Be a bit
There's
more
so
clear."
many times where I'm like, "Would you guys just shut up and talk to each other?"
Well, it's not even that, it's like they'll be talking to each other, but they're reading it completely wrong because they're interpreting it in a different way, like, the communication, like, how they need to communicate needs to be better, and it needs
Better.
to meet on the same wavelengths that they both get it, like, "Oh, this is what they meant." Whereas there's a lot of times where he
Yes.
says something and then she's like, "What?" And then she says something and he's like, "Oh, she means this." I'm like, "That's not what she
Yeah,
meant. That's not what she meant at all. That's not what she
I
meant at all.
know.
Where did you get that from?" Like, there's a lot of that.
I know. But I think overall it is a really great trope. It's very versatile. It can
Mhm,
be used in just about, I think, any situation. Like we were talking about rom-com, angst, spice,
mhm,
scary, historical, modern, at work, billionaire, celebrity, all this stuff.
mhm.
Um, it's a great trope, and I think it's not one that will ever go away. It's not gonna get,
No.
like I said, overused because there's just so much you can do with it.
Mhm. I agree with that, and I when I do see that on a book or, like, on a cover where they talk about the different tropes, I'm like, "Okay, I'm for it. I'm already game. I like this."
Right?
Unless it's just a really bad blurb, unless it's just like,
I know.
like, "What? This doesn't make any
We've
sense."
we've also seen some books where, like, the back, you're like, "Why would
Eh,
you write it like this?"
I was like, "Ah, I don't think I'm gonna like this, but I'm just gonna put that back." So we just
I
yeah,
know, I
we
think
just
we've all had that.
yeah, we've had those moments, but yeah, so I would say, that sums up this trope quite
I think so,
nicely.
yeah.
Yeah. This is the fake dating trope, on our Sips and Smut podcast,
Yeah,
and we will
and
definitely talk about more tropes in the
let
future.
us let us know what tropes you want us to dive into, you know?
'Cause there's a lot. There's more than
There's a
just, like, the
lot.
regular tropes, there's also a lot of sub-tropes that people don't necessarily talk about or realize that are there.
Yeah, and I mean, you and I, whether it be lesser known authors, lesser known tropes, you and I are very big on trying to look for kind of the diamond in the rough, the things that don't get the hype that we really feel like should
Mhm.
get the hype. I mean, yes, of course, we also talk about really popular books and authors and such, but I think you and I do have a really soft spot for indie authors, lesser
Mhm.
known tropes, and that type of stuff. So if you've got a book or an author that you think uses a trope in a unique way or has a unique subplot or just an indie author book that you feel like needs to get more clout, let us know. Because I
Mhm.
mean, we try to keep up with it, but there's so many books that come out all the time we can't possibly. So let us know.
Yep.
We love suggestions. We love all that.
Yeah, and you can email us. Our contact email is on our profile on Instagram. You can always reach out to us there.
It's like Kim
Um
Possible. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
Oh, gosh, I that was a flashback there. I haven't heard
I know
that
I'm
in
aging
ages.
myself. God. But
Okay,
yes,
everybody. Thank you for
we'll see you next
listening.
time.
Bye.
Bye.